Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Roam with Romy. Today I'm going to talk about the cons of getting the KGSP scholarship, and I also wanted to put a disclaimer that these are just my views on what the negative aspects are of getting the scholarship. Definitely consult with an advisor or other people for your major. I go to EYGSIS, so this applies more to people who are in the social science fields, but in any case, I think it will still be beneficial for all. Definitely keep watching for the rest of the video. The first con that I would say is that it's not with every major, so I cannot speak for other majors, but if you're studying international relations, if you're studying, okay, that was weird. If you're studying IR and it was your major in undergrad or you studied political science, the courses are going to be repetitive for you. Reason for that is because a lot of the classes here are theory-based. So going to grad school, I really thought that I would learn more practical skills, but it doesn't work that way here. So everything is pretty theory-based, and we have classes, so everything is class-based as well. Basically, for example, we have to complete 41 in-class credits to graduate. So imagine you have 4 semesters to complete 41 credits plus your thesis. So think about that. It's a lot. And also your thesis, you can only complete it the last semester. So you only have 1 semester to complete your thesis. Back home, I believe we have a year to complete our thesis, but here is condensed into 1 semester. And finding a thesis advisor to help you is really hard depending on your major. So I know some schools, they already have someone in place for you, but for our majors, so for the school that I go to, for our majors, we have to choose our thesis advisor after. So not before we enter the school, but afterwards. And that can be complicated because they're busy, you know, they have lives and some of them have jobs and they have a lot of other activities that they're doing. They're doing classes on top of managing student thesis. So you know, it's kind of both ways where it's inconvenient in some aspects. So if you want to come and study in Korea and you love theory, if you're an IR, if you love theory and you don't mind writing your thesis in 1 month, then you're okay. But if you do mind, then keep in mind that this might happen. Now, also for students who are doing labs, I've heard some horror stories, and to be honest with you, I'm just going by what I've heard and heard from some of my friends. These are personal friends of mine. I don't want to get into too much detail again because everyone's experience is different. However, if you're working in a lab, definitely I would advise you to get to know who your lab supervisor is. Get to know how they operate because they don't have time for you. You have to know how to learn and do things independently here. A lot of the times when you're asking questions here, it's like they already think that you should know this stuff. So I would say that if you're a person who's a go-getter, you're independent and you can thrive on your own without asking questions, then this is for you. However, if you're a person who needs someone to always tell you what to do or to always show you how to do something, this might not be for you. Another kind of studying in Korea is that you might get homesick. So that happens. For me personally, it didn't happen, and the reason for that is because I had experience already living apart from my family. So I was already used to being alone for X amount of time. However, I know that for other people, it was really hard for them to adjust to living in a different country, different environment. They came here excited and then they burnt out by month 6, 7, 8. I've personally known of a few people who have gone back and who quit the scholarship altogether because they were homesick or because they just couldn't adapt or integrate to Korean culture. So that's another con, is that you might get homesick. So definitely consider, are you okay living apart from your family? Are you okay living apart from your close-knit system? Are you okay with maybe living alone for a while? Are you okay with adjusting to a new country? Are you okay with learning a new language, adjusting to new food habits? You might not find your food here or the food that you like here. There are certain neighborhoods in Seoul. Of course, there are foreign foods, but what if you're not in Seoul? What if you're in Jeonju? What if you're in Gwangju? What if you're in Busan? What if you're in Daegu? You know, those things come into consideration. So you also have to be mindful of your level of comfort being alone and living abroad in a different country. Another con to studying in Korea is, what are you gonna do after? So this is major, because what you do after matters of whether you should get the scholarship or not. I'd say that this is the most important thing that I've said so far. What are you gonna do after? So if you want to go back to your country, which most scholars do, because by the end of the 3 years, either people get tired of being here, or they just want to go home, or they feel like there are better opportunities abroad, which there are. Like, there are opportunities everywhere in the world, definitely. So one thing you have to consider is, what are your plans afterwards? If you plan on staying in Korea, you need to learn Korean. 100%. You cannot, I wish I could tell you that you don't need to learn Korean. I wish I could tell you that it's easy to get a job here without learning Korean, but it's not. Unless you want to teach English, and even teaching English is only available for people from specific countries, from native English speaking countries. So that might not be an option for a lot of you. And another thing is that you have to be able to understand and communicate with your colleagues and also your boss. So it is definitely important to learn Korean. Now, if you don't know how to speak Korean, or you don't plan on speaking Korean, then living here afterwards might not be for you, which is fine. However, when you go back to your country, how will they receive your degree from Korea? How do the credits transfer over in your country? You have to consider that, because for me, for example, in Canada, even though I got my degree, my master's degree in Korea, there's probably an equivalency that I have to submit in order for my master's degree to qualify in Canada. I already knew what I wanted to do afterwards, so for me, this is not an issue. But for some people, it is. And you have to be able to translate your experience abroad and how it will benefit your country, or how it will benefit your future career. If you plan on going home, you have to see, what are you going to do with this experience? How will this degree translate back home? Will people understand why you studied in Korea? And if they don't, will this opportunity help you or hinder your progress in the future? I have a former classmate who ended up leaving the scholarship because she realized that it wasn't going to benefit her in the future. And I know some people might be watching this and be like, well, shouldn't she have known this before? No, like, a lot of the things are not explained to you before you come here. That's one thing that I want you all to realize, is that when you get here, sometimes that's when you find things out. There's a lot of things about the scholarship that we don't know until we get here, and other scholars haven't said anything, or they have just been through different experiences. But either way, you won't know until you get here. So if you find something out while you're here, will that affect you? Will you quit? Will you leave? If you find out that you can't do anything with your degree back home, or you can't do anything with your degree in Korea, what are your options? What are you gonna do? So that's something you have to think about. Can you withstand the challenges that come with studying here? Another con of studying with the KGSP scholarship is money. Money is tight like the buttons of my jeans right now. That's how tight they are, okay? So money is tight. 1,000,000 won seems like, hey, throw it up, you got money, we get free money. But hold up, that money right there, that money is just for your living expenses. If you live in Seoul, you'll be lucky to even save 200,000 a month.
I want to add that saving money is very important, especially if you plan on staying in Korea, or you have to complete your thesis. The reason for that is, if you plan on staying in Korea and plan on finding a job afterwards, you need to get your visa sponsored, and you need to have money in your bank account in order for the visa process to go through. They need to see that you can afford to live here. If you end up staying in Korea longer because you need to complete your thesis, well, guess what? You need money for that too. And the scholarship will be over by that time. They don't give you a grace period for extra money. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, if you plan on going home, you still need to save money, because why would you want to go home broke? You know what I mean?
I'm in 200,001, and I have a friend who actually was able to save 500,000 a month, but she barely goes out. So you have to make a lot of sacrifices if you want to save money. And for those who send money back home, there are a lot of people who are here on a scholarship, but they have to send money back home. So you have to also take that into consideration. Can you study here without having to send money back home? Can you study here without having other financial obligations? If you have other financial obligations back home, then you have to definitely figure that out. That's a con, because when I have to still pay off my student loans. Now, I was able to defer my loans because I eventually got into my program, but while I was in language school, they didn't consider language school as a regular program. So I had to spend my year of language school paying off some of my student loans and living abroad and paying my bills here. So that was also an issue. And then for birthdays, anniversaries, I had to send money back home to my parents for gifts and stuff like that. So that also adds up as well. And then also your food here, your way of living, your lifestyle. So you have to take that into consideration. If you are on a tight budget back home and you come here and you know you got bills to pay and stuff, you have to be very careful about that. That's a con. So like I said before, the pro is you get free money, but the con is you don't really save a lot of money. So it's really hard to save money here, especially when you're on a scholarship and you're only making 1 million a month. And 1 million, like I said, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you're living in a city like Seoul, it's not. Now, if you're living in another town in Korea, then you might be able to get by because it's cheaper. But in Seoul, good luck. All right, y'all. So I think that's it for now. I would say that those are the main cons. That concludes this video. Is the KGSP scholarship worth it? Now, I don't want to discourage anyone. Definitely not. I'm a real advocate of being able to chase your dream, follow your dream. So if KGSP is your dream, go after it. Hey, I went after my dream, even with all the pros and cons. With all things considered, I would say it's an opportunity of a lifetime to go for it. I just want you all to be mindful of this, and I don't want anyone to come here and quit or have a difficult time. So I just wanted to give a different perspective to all of the videos out there. I just wanted to keep it real with you guys. And there are going to be other videos that I'm going to do about the KGSP scholarship in particular, or studying in Korea or grad school in Korea. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves.